Hello, I'm Catherine Stoker, and welcome to our In Conversation today, where we're focusing on partnerships and the strength of companies working together.
Hello, I'm Siobhan Scaife, owner of the Guardian Family Network, and very glad to be here today to talk to Catherine about the partnership that we've had for many years together.
So my company, the Independent Education Consultants, was founded in 2011, and we help families from all around the world open doors to the best British boarding schools and UK universities. So we work lots with individual parents and families, but we also very much enjoy working with partners to either help us recommend families to us who need our advice, or who offer other services to the same clients.
The Guardian Family Network was established in 2012, also by Catherine, who happens to be my sister. I was brought into the business because I was at a school, Woldingham, for the sixth form, and Catherine thought it would benefit my family to look after one of the students who was starting there also in the sixth form. So that's when I started my journey with guardianship and an understanding of supporting a student who's a long way from home. In 2015, I started working for Catherine as her business manager, and then a year later purchased the company from her because quite clearly, very early on, it became my passion. I'm very much family focused, but I really felt that I wanted to grow the business in other countries alongside Catherine and actually provide invaluable support to children who are over here and studying a long way from home, who would need a caring environment to be, not only when schools are closed, but also birthdays, parents' meetings. These families support them and are very closely matched with the students to make sure that they feel that they have a home from home when they're a long way from their own one.
I think it's really clear, isn't it, Siobhan, that family is at the heart of everything that we do as a consultancy business and you as a guardianship business. I mean, the first thing we always say to families when talking about how can we help is this is all about your child. We put the child at the centre of any advice that we give to families when they're looking at school choices. So it's actually quite emotional to hear you talking about your journey and your history and family. And it's fantastic. I think companies working together really can be stronger together, hence the topic for this conversation. So we sort of had a bit of a thought, didn't we, about what we feel makes a good partner, having worked together for quite such a long time as two companies. What do you think makes a good partner?
I think a shared vision for that child that very much puts them first. Quite often it can be listening to parents who might have different ideas for their child. So working very closely with the parents to make sure that actually their potential vision for the child is the one that is right for them long term. So there are lots of conversations to be had jointly, and guardianship becomes involved as much as the education consultancy, so that we're providing this wraparound care as a team, working together. Although we're two different companies, we're very much united in working with the parents, the child, the schools, to make sure that that child will thrive while they're over here in the UK studying, for whether it's 1 year or going all the way through from being tiny, 8 years old, through to 18. I looked after one of our students doing exactly that. She's now in university in the UK, still very much in contact with mum. But as partners, we dip in and out as and when we're required as two different companies to support the parents and the children, whether it's Catherine's company with tutoring, university placement, UCAS, whatever it is, we're there for them. And as two separate companies, we can be there to provide the services that they need jointly.
Yes, and I think your child, as parents, is the most precious thing you have in your life, your child and your family, and wanting your child to be happy and fulfill their potential is sort of a chief worry on parents' minds, isn't it? And I think when considering any partner to work with, and I suppose often because we're the consultancy company, we're kind of at the front end of these partnerships. And although we do have other partners who refer their clients to us, who perhaps work in the finance industry or banking or other industries similarly with the same clients, and hence they're referring to us. And I think the strongest partnerships work because as companies, you hold dear the same ethos, the same ethics, the same, yes, of course, we're businesses and we're doing this hopefully so that we can earn a living, but we all we're actually prioritizing the clients, the children, and hence our success comes from word of mouth, from other people recommending us. And I think we can take real pride in that, can't we? That as two companies together, we have the same approach to business, the same ethics, where we really do put the child first.
Absolutely. And I think very much it's about listening to the parent. So whilst we have many services that we can offer, the starting point is to find out what parents want.
Yes.
We're very much united in that feeling.
How can we help?
Absolutely, yes. But we have the flexibility, because we are not an enormous company, to offer a very personal service to parents. And I think that's what matters, and both of us feel very strongly. We don't want to grow into enormous companies where we lose focus or we aren't at the forefront of that company, because we still believe very strongly in it and what we're offering to those parents. And it's the total reassurance that we're aiming to achieve with them, together with guardianship and education consultancy at whatever level is required, for that parent to be able to be okay with their child being away from home.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And then the other thing that I sort of had on my notes here that I think is really important with any partner that you're going to work with as a business, particularly if you're going to refer very happy clients that have been working with you or working with you a long time, is you really have to trust that that partner will, one, deliver a really quality service and look after them well, and that they will actually do what they say they're going to do, but also that they're going to be really efficient and look after the client, very well, with a very high level of efficiency. Because in any partnership, you're only as strong as the weakest link, aren't you? And so I think as companies, to really thrive working together, you have to trust that any referral you make to one of the companies in the chain, the clients will get a 5-star service, and that you will do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely with you there. And I think because we've worked together for such a long time, we can confidently do that, because we do really know each other's businesses. This isn't a referral that's based on a connection that was made very recently. This is in the knowledge that TIEC are actually there, and will, as you say, provide the services, but specific to parents' requirements and putting the child first.
So it's the same back to partnering. The real valued partners are ones where you have the same ethos, you have the same approach to your clients. It's not going to work. I mean, I know I've often said it in the past, and maybe people aren't aware of British supermarkets, but I always sort of think of us as Waitrose rather than Tesco. And I think that, that is very much my approach to business. We want to be small. We want to know every family. We want to really be hands-on and ensure that the children are happy and that they fulfill their potential, because I actually think one comes after the other. And so I think you are a massive part of their happiness, because you are the support network that is there once they arrive at school, and are making sure that they're getting everything from this opportunity.
I think the great part of working together is that you fully understand that guardianship can actually enhance the child's experience. It's not just something that is required, a tick in a box by any means. If you find the right service to actually provide to that child, they are learning so much more about life, about independence, but about being part of British culture and a family. And also, if they are not native English speakers, by being in a family who really care about them, who want to support them, they can improve their language skills much more quickly than just practicing in school, which is really important. And obviously you understand that very much.
And I think as parents, that's very reassuring, isn't it? I mean, would it be a good time now to just to mention that we do have a third part in our partnership with some of our clients, the Watanabe office, who I have known for almost 20 years now and worked with for almost 20 years. And I think that the really trusted thing for Japanese clients who are working with the Watanabe office, and then TIEC, and then GNet, Guardian Family Network, along this timeline and process of, first of all, do I want to actually British education at all? Which is very much what the Watanabe office are doing in Japan, is talking to Japanese families about what is British education? Why would I choose it for my child? You know, when should they access British education? And then also then linking through to which schools are we going to apply to? How do I get through this minefield of the application process? And then once I get to boarding school and I am the other side of the world, who is going to be there, you know, day in, day out, in case my child needs anything, and to ensure that I can feel reassured and happy back in Japan that they're being very well looked after and there are boots on the ground, you know, throughout the year. And that's been working for many years, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And I think one thing's very clear is that we all really trust one another to do the right thing, putting the child at the center of what we do. And I think, you know, being a parent, the thing that I would want to feel most is that I'm being put in the hands of a company who are trusted. So this is where I think partnership is absolutely invaluable. Is the agent, you know, with Watanabe office in Japan, they can confidently say they're working with companies who have got a lot of expertise, who are based in the UK, who really know the right, or have the right services to put forward, but also the skills that are required to understand another culture as well, because I think that's really important. So any trusted partner we work with, we do take a very long time, and we're very respectful of another culture and an understanding of the parents, but also the child and where they're coming from too. And I think that's crucial in a partnership, to be very considerate of that and respectful towards parents. And I think that's why it works, even though we are a UK-based company working in partnership with a Japanese company. The three of us have an understanding of each other and how things work in our own countries.
And we've benefited a huge amount, haven't we, from learning about Japanese culture from the Watanabe office, because we could be able to understand how children are then, having been educated here, fit back into the university sector if they choose, or if they go to British universities and then are looking for a career back in Japan. It's really important because, you know, what's the purpose of education? The purpose of education is to get you flying and off and running for your future life. And you know, what we've learned, as you've just said, in culture from the Watanabe office about the decisions that parents are making in Japan and why they're making them, and what the benefit is of a British education, but also at the end point is, how does your child then get a job in Japan, or if they want to go back to university there, because that's crucial as a parent, isn't it?
And I think having the Watanabe office is really beneficial too, because it means that with the information that we have, we can then talk to schools to help them better understand how to support this child.
Yes.
Culturally, or you know, in terms of mannerisms, they're very different, and we can explain that because we've been made aware over many years of, you know, the meanings of specific things. You know, what is considered to be polite versus impolite, and that's really massively helpful to form that partnership with any agent that we do have overseas, to better understand their needs, but understand where they come from, but also to allow them to retain that too, because that's important, to not make them too British. They need to understand where they come from and still feel that that's a part of who they are, even though they have this education and they learn another language and they're incredibly successful, along with the support that they receive, but they still know who they are and where they came from in the beginning.
So I think we've sort of talked quite a lot there about the advantage of partners, haven't we? You know, we're very lucky, aren't we, to have such a successful working relationship between the, you know, the companies. And I think that you know, it's sort of it'd be quite interesting to just mention what might make a not such great partner. You know, any opportunities there, because you know, we work very hard at it, don't we? And there's a lot of communication that goes on about it. But I think, you know, one of the experiences that I've had sometimes is if you don't get the information that you need efficiently enough, and you know, I can only talk to schools, you know, and clients as efficiently as I can. So it's really important, isn't it, that you're all on the same page when it comes to the process behind the business. I mean, clearly the front ending communication and all of that is a priority, but behind all of that, there is a process, isn't there, that needs, you know, paperwork and, you know, applications. And I know you deal a lot with end of term arrangements and flights and all of this stuff. There's a lot of process that goes behind what we do. And I think, you know, you can have experiences with partners where that doesn't come as efficiently as you would like it in order to be able to show that efficient service to your client. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think understanding the inner workings of any other company is really important, but also to move together when changes needed to be made or need to be made at any point in time is, you are maintaining your own identity as a company, but also in order to still make sure that you're offering the best service, you need to be able to have those conversations with your partner to be able to say, this is where we need to go together because we see a change in the market. And to have that flexibility to be able to do that is fantastic in a smaller company, to be able to say this is what needs to happen to move us forward, to support future parents and the children who will be coming along the line eventually.
And what else do you feel is the advantage of partner? I mean, one of the things that I thought about, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I mean, actually, we're an example of that, aren't we? Because I initially set up the Guardian Family Network, and I was running a consultancy business, and I very quickly realised that I was spreading myself too thin, and that this very easily made two separate companies with two passionate people doing what they're really good at, and so I think that's an advantage of a partnership, is being able to grow your client base, but by working with other partners where everybody is specialist and passionate about what they do, without then suddenly offering all those other services yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in summary, it's sort of stick to what you're good at.
Yes,
is very much, that there are super companies to work with out there that do things way better than you ever could. And I think also it gives a very mixed message to parents if you're trying to do too many things. And I think parents should still be offered the opportunity for choice. So this is the kind of the best of both worlds, in that you have two totally separate companies who each have the expertise that is required in their specialist field to put forward advice and support. And I think the backup of two companies who can work together to offer this total support is better than one that's wearing too many hats.
yes. Hence, we're back to the stronger working together, aren't we? That if, yes, absolutely, clients can choose to work with us as a unit together, but we are stronger working together as two companies, where the independent education consultants advises on the schools, and the Guardian Family Network then looks after the children when they're happy and settled into their school. And I do strongly believe that is a real strength of the work that we do with clients, is that it's two companies working together, doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely is. And it very much comes across in what you're saying. Absolutely.
So, what are your next steps for partners then?
Ooh, interesting question. I think, it's all very exciting, in terms of opportunities, but we have now 133 students who I consider very much as my own. I feel like I'm mum to all of them. But we have opportunities to grow by supporting schools more, because there have been changes in the national minimum standards of boarding with a focus on guardianship. So schools will now be looking to not necessarily recommend, but it would be much more beneficial for a school to have a list of an Aegis accredited company, for example. So that is, they're an independent body who inspect guardianship companies, to build the relationships more with the schools, to understand that we're out there, to work more in partnership with them, but also work more with agents in other countries should they choose to do so, because there is a huge benefit, as we touched on, in terms of understanding the country, the culture, what is required from parents, and having that well-established company who is respected by a school, to work jointly with them, to support a child, and help the transition to be much smoother than it would otherwise be. Because I think an agent who just places a child, a parent who then has to look for guardianship separately, who then needs to get consultancy from prep to senior or whatever it may be, is very disjointed as a process. So I think to build more relationships in that model that is working so well and is really well established is where my next focus is for the business.
And I think the younger that, children have really good quality guardianship service with you. For example, I know you've got a lot of children who are in prep schools. I think that's so reassuring, especially, for a mum, it's a big decision to choose for your child to be at a boarding school when you're the other side of the world. And I think it's very important for them to be in regular communication with you, but also to know that you're there with your host families and your amazing team, looking after them, throughout the term. For us, our main priority really is helping more and more families who are looking to move from international schools abroad into the UK schools, maybe at the end of prep school level, maybe at 13, because there are so many British international schools all around the world. I think it's quite a dilemma for parents now to decide when they're going to choose. So we've been looking quite a lot at potential partners who might be in touch with families in all sorts of countries all around the world who currently have chosen to have their children at home with them and attend a British international school, but who might have a future plan. One of our biggest challenges is a lot of families come to us too late, and we spend an awful lot of time at the last minute helping families. And we've done that. In August, we've secured places at great schools in August for the September. But sometimes it would be nice to have a little bit more time and be able to plan with the family and enable them to visit and spend a bit more time on this process rather than doing it at the last minute. So that's our main focus for partners.
And how do you think you can raise awareness, Catherine, at an earlier stage? These families who will.
Well, I think it's just getting the message out there. I think British international schools have done us a big favour, actually, in terms of businesses who are based in the country, because what they are doing. I mean, I've been talking to Kazuko in Japan for, as you know, for 20 years, and I know one of her biggest frustrations used to be, first of all, she used to say, it's ridiculous, Catherine, I'm a Japanese person, and first of all, I'm having to explain people about Britain and sell Britain. But I think international schools and the massive expansion of international schools, whether they're American international or Canadian or British international schools all around the world, I think that has got the message of British education as a brand out there a lot more. But I think a lot of families are choosing those schools while they would like to have their children at home, while aspiring for them to join a British boarding school either at 13 or even for the sixth form ahead of applying to university, because we also do a lot of university applications, or even applying to the US via a boarding school in the UK for sixth form. And so, in an ideal world, we'd like to start talking to those families about 2 years ahead of them actually making the move, so that the family have got time to look at schools, to come and visit them. And then there's still that year that we need to go through the admissions process, the interview process, and help the children build their confidence ahead of that process.
Are you finding more that it's actually the children that are driving this? Because this is what I'm finding is in the conversations that I have, is they're the ones who are actually saying there is a big world out there and we want to experience it. And kind of, I know we haven't mentioned it, but post-COVID, I think more parents have become nervous about their children. So I think more than ever, it's up to the two of us, to companies such as ours, to actually help them feel confident that it's the right decision for their child to make if they want to go.
Yes, and I think, at the end of this, we both went to boarding school, didn't we? And I actually think parents who choose boarding for their children are making a big sacrifice. And unless you're doing it for a well thought through reason, like they're aspiring to go to a top British university, and you think it would, be an ideal for them to come and do A levels here in the sixth form, or IB here in the sixth form first. You really want them to get to grips with English because they want a career where they need to be able to speak English fluently. I think there has to be a real reason to be talking through, and that's why we spend so much time with families talking them through. What are you doing this for? Why are you choosing this for? What? But you're right. A lot of children. The children take 2 minutes to be convinced that this is what they want to do. Understandably, for parents, and it's a big investment, isn't it? It's a very, school fees have gone up a lot over the years. It's a really big investment, and it's a big decision. But I guess we're both products of boarding school, aren't we? So I guess, we can share the experiences that we had at children, but also, we saw what a big sacrifice it was for our own parents. It's not an easy decision. And I think you're a big part of that, because they can feel reassured when they get here. But I hope we're a big part of that too, at the decision-making process, where we're talking through why would you choose a boarding school? What are the benefits to your child, to your family? Actually, even if you're a British parent, you know, choosing a boarding school, it's interesting times, I think, interesting times for boarding, and I'm still a passionate fan. Boarding's very different now from it was when we were in. Anyway, that's for a different conversation.
Okay.
We better keep something to talk about for later. But it's really good to work with the Guardian Family Network as a partner, and it really does show an example, I think, of how partnerships really can be stronger when companies work together.
Absolutely, and it's not just the level that we're talking about, the two of us, it's the team. Both teams in two different companies are aware of each other, have an understanding of what the individuals do, which means that it's very smooth, the conversation. If information is required, it's possible to get that quickly. And I know especially for you, sometimes you're up against very tight deadlines. And we realize that it's crucial that we provide that information, make payments, whatever is required, that we're responsive to the the needs of you and the parent at the time. So knowing the whole of the team is great, not just at the top.
Thank you. And so we will have another conversation about, because I think we should perhaps have another conversation about boarding and why we're so passionate about boarding for international children. But we've probably talked enough for now, haven't we? So
absolutely, no, but I think definitely from our own experience, I think it's good to share that too, and to remove this whole "I'm sending you away," which is my worst statement ever, a sentence that needs to be removed.
It's interesting. I have exactly that conversation with families when I'm advising them, and I say we replace the word send with choose. I am choosing a boarding school. You're not sending them anywhere.
It's giving them the most incredible opportunity.
So let's do another conversation another time on choosing boarding and why choose boarding if you're living abroad. But it's really good to talk to you for now, and speak to you soon.
See you soon.
Take care. Bye.